Welcome back everyone, I'm James the Tie Guy, and today we have a new vehicle to take a look at. This is the ForceLink 2.0 Imperial AT-DT Walker. Was seen in the Han Solo movie. It only had a few seconds on screen when it was dropped into battle by an AT hauler, right before Han Solo defected from the Mud Trooper Corps. This is an interesting walker. It is the first time we've ever seen it, of course, was in the movie. It's piloted by one person, and it is basically artillery on legs, like a Flak 88 cannon from World War II. Of course, this would be the Star Wars version. This toy is set to release most likely at the end of next month or possibly August. It is going to retail, I'm going to guess, for around $29.99. That's the price point that these vehicles seem to be going at, but I haven't heard anything official. It will come with the Mud Trooper, or the Minbon Stormtrooper rather, that you see right here. It is similar to the one that was already released, although this one doesn't have a cape on it. I'll show you a little bit more of it here in a minute. Reason for it being without the cape, I'm assuming, is so it was able to maintain the setting pose in the walker. This is a pretty interesting piece because, unlike other walkers before it, it's got more articulation in its legs, and if you notice, these these feet here actually have a different type of pad on them, and it actually will swivel on this ball joint, so it allows it to have a little bit more dexterity. And then the legs, they can be moved up and down at this pivot point right here, and then you've got also some movement that you can see right there. So if you take a look at the pictures in my gallery that I posted, this thing is able to have quite a different few poses compared to the traditional AT-ST walkers that we've gotten in the past. This primary function of this in the cannon is artillery. As you can see from the package, show it there, the front gun on this would ideally be longer, but it's got a shortened barrel for the toy version. It does have this red projectile that it comes with, which fires like that. I actually like how it looks better without it when I display it, so I'll go and show you the little feature there, and then I'm going to put the projectile up here. And the rest of the time, I usually just leave it out because it looks more like it just has a clear barrel, which I like that look better for displaying it on a shelf. Now, this particular unit here, after I got done with it yesterday, taking its picture gallery, for some reason it developed this really odd squeak whenever I turn the turret on the top there. I'm not really sure why it's doing this. It's really noisy, as you can see. I've checked to make sure nothing got in there, and I'm the only one that handles it, so I don't really know why it's doing that. But it wasn't doing it when I first got out of the package, so I'll say that. Now, as far as its poses, I was able to get quite a few out of it. If you bend its legs back, kind of set it down like that, it sounds like it's braking, but it's really not. It's just how the mechanism is designed. And then you can kind of point it up like that and get a lot of different poses out of it, kind of like artillery fire, which is what the purpose of this walker was. It wasn't really designed to take infantry head on. It was more something that would set back and then lob laser artillery into the enemy's battlefield, or also act as an anti-air gun. In the real version, this gun, as you can see from these various parts over here, would rotate up or down to give it even greater range of the sky, where it can almost be pointing straight up. And that's why this doesn't have a cockpit on it, because I've seen some people question the feasibility of this in the military because the driver's exposed. But you have to remember, even in our modern military, artillery cannons rarely ever are fully enclosed. They're usually open air because the pilot or the operator needs to have a clear view of the sky. So it's the same with this. This isn't an AT-ST. It is not something that would be charging on a battlefield with taking on infantry head on, because it doesn't have the type of cannons or lasers, fast-firing lasers like the AT-ST did, and it doesn't have the armored cockpit. This would set more back on the battlefield and then lob artillery, and the advantage is, because of a battlefield like Minbon, you've got all that uneven terrain as well as the muck and mire because it's a mining planet. So this walker could get around that, could balance itself in different ways, and provide artillery support for troops. So I have no problem with this being open cockpit, because that's just how our artillery is. I really wouldn't expect it to be any other way. You've got this little gun sight or port here, that's the little flap that's up. If you tilt it right, like I did in my pictures, it kind of makes a neat shot, because you can see the troopers mass through it, which is unmistakable. Now I do wish we, instead of just getting this projectile, I wish Hasbro might have included a barrel extension, like you can see in this picture here. Maybe just something that looks like this. It could fire, I guess, if you wanted it to, but it'd be a neat piece just to be able to put in there. I'm sure someone could 3D print one fairly easily that you could put in there and just leave it permanently if you wanted. I'm sure somebody will get around to doing that. So as far as any other features go, it does have this exploding gimmick, I guess you could call it. It's not something that will appeal to collectors really, although it does have one advantage, which I'll get to. But for kids, if you press this button here, the gun and the driver's seat go flying off like this. So there it went. I'll pick up my driver down here, put him here, and then you're left with the seat, which has got, this piece here is rubber, this darker brown, so it's a little grippy, actually very tacky, keeps the driver in place. Then you've got this here to stop him from sliding forward. Now, as for a collector standpoint or someone wanting to display this, the advantage I see is for weathering. If you take a look at my picture gallery, the last picture, you will see something that Yakface posted where they took one of these and weathered it. It looks amazing, if you ask me. They copied from this Han Solo, the art of the movie book. They copied the walker shown in that. It really looks great. It brings out this walker a lot better than Hasbro's, mediocre weathering job, which is pretty typical. Again, this is a toy, it's not a replica model. I'm not expecting, the type of detail that I might see from something that is a dedicated model. But because it's got this feature, you've got the gun, which comes apart. You could even take it apart more because it's got screws if you wanted to really get down and paint it, super detailed. But you've got that, and then you've even got the chair. You can do whatever you want with it. And then you're left with this to weather however you like it. So it helps that it breaks in pieces. The legs also pop off. They're just on a joint. They come without it whenever you buy it or open it. It's not assembled, but they are movable, so it's really easy to paint if you wanted to go that route. Also seen some people that had a pretty good idea to remove the front panel here and then somehow affix a BB-8 figure to it to look like the walker from the First Order, or the First Order walker that BB-8 steals in The Last Jedi. The one that rips the cab off of in the Supremacy. So that's a pretty good idea if someone wanted to go that route with it and create a BB-8 type walker. But to put it back together, it's real simple. It just slides in here. So it's on rails basically. So you just slide that, and then you put the seat same way, it clicks in place, and then you're kind of back to where you started. So as far as poses, again, it'll do a lot of different ones. You can have it facing downward, or you can do it up like that where it'd be firing at the sky. And no matter what pose you get it in, you can usually use these little feet pads, which are on kind of a ball swivel. They're not super graceful, but they do move, which is something that couldn't be said about other AT-ST walker releases. Those were actually, like the Black Series, that was almost impossible to balance. This one is definitely a lot easier. But so you can, do it like that, and as long as you get the legs and the feet pads in the right position, the walker will stay just about any way that you want it to with a little bit of finesse. There's that squeaking again. It's really driving me nuts because it didn't start doing that until late last night. But if you look at the pictures, you'll see a lot better idea of what you can do as far as posing this walker. There's a lot of different options that you have with it. And like I said, the sounds coming from it aren't so great, but I've messed with it a lot, and it's still standing up just as well as it was whenever I first started posing it. The key is really just to getting the legs in the almost the same notch, I guess you could call it, so that they're not too uneven. And then after that, it just comes getting it balanced, which is a lot in the feet pads. But you see how you can kind of like move it like that, and then you just kind of press down and then rotate them around until it feels right, and then you can get it to hold all kinds of different poses. So we'll set that over here to take a better look at the Trooper. Now, there's nothing special about this guy. He's a Mimban Stormtrooper minus the cape. The weathering job on him, like the regular one, let's see if we can get him to focus in here, it's not the best. I've got this big open patch here with nothing on it, which I've seen on a lot of these. Still in the box. I don't really know why they did that. It's kind of odd. It's just basically an unweathered patch on him. He's only 5 POA again, just like the other ones, so you get minimal articulation. He is the Mimban Trooper because he does have this dome, sensor dome. I thought it was a blast shield, but after looking in the official guide, this is actually an enhanced sensor array that is given to the helmets of these troopers because of the conditions on the planet that they're on. It helps them get a better view of the battlefield. And then he's got slightly different lenses, the teeth here in the mask, as well as the gills that don't have the blue in them. They're actually, on this one, they're really not even present at all, hardly. It's kind of strange because the Black Series had them, just not as prevalent and not blue like on the regular Troopers. So the figure isn't nothing special, really. It works, though. It's got this E11 blaster, which is modified with a flashlight and a slightly bigger Tabana gas cartridge. No holster, though. Not really much of a need for it, I guess, because he's not really going to be holding the gun while he's driving, most likely. Unless, you know, you want to stand him up in it, or let's see if we can get it to focus, or something like that, which I did in some of my pictures. I guess he could, you know, stand if he was being boarded or something like that. Now, as far as how big it is, let's see if we can get the light there. I'll set him here. Now, he's a 3 3/4 figure. If you look in the pictures, I did some pictures with this next to my Power of the Force ATST from the 90s. It's about the same height. The cab is maybe a little bit smaller, and the leg design, of course, is a bit different, but they're about the same size, and in canon they would be close to the same size as each other. This one might be a little bit smaller because it's only one man, but not by much. So there you can see, you know, he looks fine there. Next to it, and these guys have been kind of hard to find in certain markets. I see some of them on eBay going for really insane prices. So at least you get one with this, although it doesn't have the cape. But again, I think the reason for that would be the cape would hinder its ability to set in this chair like that. Now, when he's in the chair, there's no actual like steering mechanisms or nothing. You basically just have this little, let's see if we can focus on that, control console right here. It's monotone gray, no decals or stickers, and there's none there included with it. But you know, if you are into that type of thing with weathering and painting, I'm sure you can make this look great. This walker has a lot of potential. For a kid, I think it's fine. You know, I've got 4 kids myself. They like to, you know, play with this type of thing, and it's definitely going to hold up a lot better than if I gave them maybe the walker from the Power of the Force. That thing is just so flimsy, I can barely get it to even stand on my shelf, but this I think will hold up better. It does have the little exploding gimmick feature, So that's nice, I guess, you know, for a kid. And then it's got the firing projectile. Of course, it only comes with one, so I can see it being lost pretty easily. But, you know, not too big of a deal. I just wish I could figure out why this one has got this awful squeak all of a sudden, because I've looked and there's nothing caught in it. I really have no idea why it started doing this. It just came out of nowhere. But it is what it is, I guess. Weathering on the feet there. You got a little bit here. The barrel's got some black on the end of it. Nothing too great, but again, it's just a toy, not a replica. So to conclude, I'm going to show you its force link sounds. I did the update on this, and while the vehicle does not show up in the app like all the others do, there is actually sounds for it in the update. They just haven't put the icon because I guess this isn't officially released, but the sounds are there. So I'm going to see if we can get it to play some for you. Turn this on. There we go. This thing, as you know from my other videos, if you've seen any of them, or probably any other YouTuber who reviewed this thing is definitely quirky. But it seems to be a little better with this because it's bigger maybe. And the Trooper also has different lines from the standard Membon Trooper, so I thought that was pretty nice. The little icon is down here, but of course that doesn't mean that's where the chip is necessarily. Just like on these guys, chip is actually in the chest, whereas the icon it's on the foot. It's just to indicate compatibility. So let's see if we can get it to make some noise. Now there you've got firing noise and some walking sounds. Of course the firing sound is not accurate. That's from the twin laser chin cannons on the ATST. This would not make that type of noise because this is artillery, but you know, a kid's not really going to care about that, or at least a lot won't. Mine might, because they know what these things are supposed to sound like, since they're almost as big a geek about it as I am. But I don't think it's that big a deal. It has some more, so there you had some explosions. Now let's see what we can get for the Trooper.
Walker arriving on site.
So we have that one, which is unique to the Trooper that comes with this Walker.
Walker arriving on site.
So there you had the Walker arriving on site, and then a blaster, which would be, I guess, coming from the Trooper, because that didn't sound like anything that this would be shooting.
Walker arriving on site. Let's get ready to move out.
And that's all I've been able to get it to do before I started this video. I was testing it out. Those were the sounds for it. The more you move this according to the instructions, the more different or more sounds it'll make. But you know, it's still a little bit hit or miss, but it does work. I was surprised that the sounds were in there, even though they weren't officially in the app. So that is the Walker pretty much in its entirety. Again, it should be coming out at the end of next month, possibly sometime in August, if it's not out by the end of July. If you're like me, I love anything Imperial, and it's been a long time since we've gotten a new Walker. The last one that we actually got a Hasbro model of would have been the AT-ACT cargo carrier from Rogue One. So it's been a while, and especially from something that's two-legged like this. So I was glad to see them come out with this, even if it does have some quirks. Still think it has a lot of potential, and I wouldn't let the little quirks this one have to put you off from getting it if it's the type of thing that you like. I just, you know, I think these are kind of just minor annoyances, but in the end, I think it's worth it, the money. But I'm sure, you know, they'll probably, unless people buy these to army build, I don't think you'll have trouble finding one. But you know, it's hard to say exactly. Hasbro and their distribution can be a little crazy sometimes. If you have any other questions in particular about this, just let me know, either in the comments below or on my channel's Facebook page. I'll be happy to answer any I can. do encourage you to check out the photo gallery on the page or on my Flickr account, which is linked below, because the pictures there do this a lot more justice than I can get in this video, since I was able to take my time with the pictures and use some studio lighting. So do check that out if you want. Appreciate everyone's support so far. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. That would help a lot. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, again. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and may the Force be with you.